The Galactic Council had been observing humanity for centuries. They had watched Earth from afar, noting its chaotic and unpredictable nature, yet never fully understanding the species that called it home. Until now. In the depths of space, aboard the massive, shimmering flagship known as the Sentinel, members of the Council gathered in a large, circular chamber. Representatives from many alien races, each more advanced and powerful than humans could ever imagine, listened carefully as an urgent transmission crackled through their communication screens. The message was simple but chilling. Humanity has done something unexpected. The voice that spoke was that of Xanth, the Council's chief analyst, an alien from a species known for their calm demeanor and advanced intellect. Her species had long dominated their sector of the galaxy, and they were proud of their reputation for predicting the behaviors of lesser civilizations. But humanity had thrown them off balance. "We have monitored Earth for years," Xanthi continued, her voice steady, "and we have witnessed something extraordinary. It is no longer a question of whether humans are dangerous. It is a question of how dangerous they may become." The chamber fell silent. Around the table, many of the council members exchanged uneasy glances. A few whispered among themselves, exchanging their thoughts in their native languages. They all had the same instinctive reaction: concern. Earth had always been a distant, primitive world with nothing to offer. But now, the council was concerned. "You are suggesting that they are a threat?" asked Zorath, a towering alien with multiple eyes and the ability to read minds. His voice was low but sharp, and his fear was apparent, despite his calm appearance. Xanthi nodded. "Yes, their history is filled with conflict, survival against impossible odds, and the rise of civilizations. But it is not just their history. It is their future that concerns me." She turned her eyes toward a large holographic display that appeared in the center of the chamber, showing images of Earth, the bustling cities, the war-torn landscapes, the towering structures, and the wild, untamed natural beauty. These humans are capable of surviving in environments that would destroy almost any other life form. They have faced extinction countless times, yet they persist. They are resilient. Zorath leaned forward. "But they are still a primitive species, are they not? We have seen their wars, their brutality. Their technology is still far below ours." "True," Xanthi acknowledged, "but they are evolving rapidly, more rapidly than any species we have ever encountered. Their technological advancements are growing at an exponential rate. They have already reached space, and they have the potential to expand far beyond their planet." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "And their ability to unite when threatened, that is something we have not seen before. If we do nothing, they will become more than just a nuisance. They could eventually challenge us." Zorath's many eyes flickered as he considered this. "You believe they are more dangerous than we have previously thought?" "Yes," Xanthi confirmed. "They are capable of achieving greatness or destruction. I have sent a team to Earth to study them firsthand. We need to understand them better. If they are to be a threat, we must know how to counter it. If they are to be allies, we must ensure they are worthy." The council members remained silent, pondering her words. In the history of the Galactic Council, no species had ever been so unpredictable. Humans were not just another species to be ignored or studied. They were something entirely different. "How do we approach this?" asked Halleck, a member from a distant star system, whose race had once wiped out entire worlds in pursuit of power. His voice, though calm, had an edge to it, hinting at the violent nature of his people. "Do we engage them directly, or do we observe from a distance?" Xanthi was quick to answer. "We observe for now. We will not intervene in their affairs. I have already sent a team to Earth, and they are gathering information. It is critical we learn their ways before making any decisions." Zorath raised a hand, his many eyes narrowing in thought. "We should prepare ourselves, just in case they decide to take action. I recommend we increase our defenses around the known space near Earth. If humanity does become a threat, we must be ready. Xanthi nodded. Agreed. But remember, we are not certain yet. We need more information. As the meeting continued, the members of the Galactic Council debated the best course of action. Some believed humanity posed no real threat and should be left to develop in peace. Others argued that waiting too long could be dangerous, as humanity's unpredictability was too great. But one thing was clear: the Council had underestimated humans. They were no longer just a primitive species on a backwater planet. They were something far more complex, something that could either become a powerful ally or an unstoppable force of destruction. As the meeting adjourned, Xanthi gazed out into the vast emptiness of space. Her thoughts were consumed by Earth, by humanity. She had seen their potential, and she knew the galaxy would never be the same once they realized what humanity could truly become. The Sentinel slowly drifted into the shadow of Earth, its massive form cloaked by advanced technology that made it invisible to human eyes. The alien researchers aboard the ship were quiet, focused, and intensely aware of the task ahead. Their mission was clear: observe and gather information on humanity. Xanthi, the chief analyst, paced slowly across the ship's command room, her sharp, angular eyes scanning the data flowing in front of her. She had been studying humanity for years, but now it was time to see them up close, to understand what made them so dangerous. The other researchers, Zoreth, Talik, and several others, worked at their stations, each analyzing different aspects of human behavior. Initiate the observation protocol, Xanthi instructed. The ship's systems hummed as drones and satellites were released into Earth's orbit. These drones were designed to blend in with the environment, hidden from view as they silently surveyed the planet. They were programmed to collect information on humans in their everyday activities. No interaction, no interference. The aliens could learn everything they needed just by watching. As the drones began their work, the team observed. The first thing they noticed was the constant movement. Cities pulsed with energy, people going about their lives in a flurry of activity. The human cities were full of life, unlike the cold, calculated civilizations the Council was used to. It was clear that humanity thrived on energy, on change, on constant motion. But what intrigued the researchers most was the people themselves. Humans were unlike any species they had encountered before. They did not possess physical superiority. No sharp claws, no natural armor, no special abilities. Yet, here they were, everywhere, building, surviving, adapting. Xanthi watched one drone's live feed showing a busy city street. Humans walked alongside each other, but there was something different about the way they interacted. They shared the same space, but they also had a sense of unity. In a way, they seemed to understand the importance of cooperation, even with strangers. It was strange to the researchers, who had never encountered a species that valued cooperation over pure strength or dominance. Talik, who had long studied military strategies, was fascinated by the city's layout. It was chaotic, filled with narrow alleyways and towering skyscrapers, yet the humans had organized it to serve their needs. How do they maintain order in such a chaotic environment? He muttered to himself. Zoreth's many eyes focused on a different scene. A group of humans working together to rescue someone trapped beneath a collapsed building. The humans worked with incredible precision, using tools, ropes, and sheer willpower to free the trapped individual. They did not hesitate, showing no fear as they labored in dangerous conditions. Zoreth was stunned. They risked their lives for one another without question. Xanthi's mind raced as she processed the data. Humans, she whispered to herself, have an unparalleled ability to work together, even under the most extreme circumstances. The team spent hours observing different groups of humans, each scene more perplexing than the last. They saw families working together to grow food in small urban farms. They saw strangers helping each other in times of crisis. And they saw humans pushing the limits of their environment, building machines to reach the stars, to go beyond what any other species had done before. But there was something else. The researchers noticed that humans weren't just surviving. They were constantly innovating. New ideas sprang up everywhere, in every corner of Earth. A man in a laboratory created new medical treatments to cure diseases. A group of engineers in a garage built a machine that could clean the oceans. It was clear. Humans didn't just accept their world. They tried to change it. One of the drones captured footage of a human being placed in a dangerous situation. A member of a search and rescue team was trapped in a collapsed building, and their oxygen supply was running out. But the human didn't give up. They fought against time, using their tools to escape. In the end, they succeeded. It was their determination, their refusal to give in, that stood out to the researchers. "They are resilient," Scifi murmured, her voice filled with awe. "They fight even when the odds are stacked against them." As the day turned into night, the researchers observed the humans in more personal moments. They saw children playing, families eating together, friends laughing. The humans, it seemed, understood something that the alien researchers had never fully grasped: the importance of connection. Humans thrived not just because of their intelligence or strength, but because they valued the bonds they formed with each other. Zorath could hardly contain his thoughts. "Do you think they are aware of their potential?" he asked Xanthi. "That they could be something more?" Xanthi's gaze remained fixed on the view of Earth below. "I think they don't fully understand. But we do. We can see it now." The team had only scratched the surface of what humanity was capable of, yet already they could sense it. The spark that set humans apart from every other species in the galaxy. It was not their technology, not their warlike history, but something deeper, something fundamental about their nature. "They might be the most dangerous species we've ever encountered," Xanthi said quietly. "But they could also be our greatest allies." The ship's systems hummed again as the drones began to return, their data streams flooding back into the Sentinel. The team had learned much, but it was clear that there was still so much more to discover. The alien researchers continued to observe humanity, their mission now more critical than ever. With each passing day, the mysteries surrounding humans grew deeper. It was clear to the team that Earth's inhabitants were far more than the primitive species they had once assumed them to be. As they delved into human evolution, the alien researchers uncovered more truths that left them both perplexed and amazed. Xanthi sat in the central chamber of the Sentinel, her mind absorbed in the data. The holographic screens flickered with human evolutionary history, depictions of primitive humans, standing upright, learning to craft tools, and slowly, over time, mastering the forces of nature. But the most striking part of humanity's evolution was not their physical growth. It was their intellect. Their brains had evolved in ways that made them unique. Unlike most species in the galaxy, which relied on instinct and simple patterns, humans developed the ability to think abstractly, to solve complex problems, and, perhaps most interesting of all, to imagine things that didn't yet exist. They evolved to become creators, not just survivors, Zorath observed, studying the data from his station. Humans don't just adapt to their environment. They shape it. Xanthi nodded, her voice thoughtful. "And that's what makes them dangerous. In a way, they've already mastered the environment around them. But it's their potential to reshape everything. Society, the planet, even the galaxy, that truly sets them apart." The team explored more recent human history, focusing on the Industrial Revolution and the rapid technological advancements that followed. In a matter of a few centuries, humans had gone from living in caves to launching spacecraft into orbit. They had harnessed electricity, built machines, and even split atoms. And despite the countless wars and conflicts that had marred their past, they had never stopped pushing forward. "These creatures have the ability to invent and innovate at a speed we have never seen before," Talek muttered, clearly impressed. His species had mastered the art of war, but they had never understood the humans' drive to build and improve without constant conflict. One image from the data stood out to Xanthi: the first human landing on the moon. The year was 1969, and the moment was captured in both human history and the Sentinel's records. A single human, Neil Armstrong, stepped onto the barren surface of a distant world, and with that single step, humanity had expanded its reach into the cosmos. The moment was a milestone for the human species, but it also held deeper meaning for the researchers. It wasn't just a technological achievement. It was proof that humans would stop at nothing to overcome any obstacle. "This is what sets them apart," Scifi said, looking at the screen. "Their determination to reach beyond what's possible. They don't simply accept limits. They push against them." Zorath, who had seen many species rise and fall throughout his long life, was now beginning to understand what Xanthi meant. In the galaxy, most species had reached a certain point in their development and then plateaued. They became content with what they had and did not strive for more. But humans were different. They never seemed satisfied. No matter how far they advanced, they always reached for something beyond their grasp. As the team dug deeper into the history of human wars, they found something even more surprising. The wars had shaped humanity, but they had also been the catalyst for great change. In times of conflict, humans didn't just fight. They adapted. They learned, innovated, and created new technologies. The two world wars had given birth to innovations in medicine, communication, and aviation. The space race, driven by the competition between nations, pushed humans to achieve things that no one had thought possible. Talek, with his knowledge of military strategy, was both fascinated and disturbed by the way humans waged war. "Their wars, they don't fight like we do," he said. "It's as if they are constantly evolving even in the heat of battle." Xanthi paused, contemplating his words. Exactly. Their warlike past didn't destroy them. It made them stronger. Their ability to adapt in the face of destruction, to rebuild and innovate. This is what makes them dangerous. The team continued to analyze human biology. It was no surprise to them that humans were fragile. They were physically weak compared to many species in the galaxy. They lacked the natural weapons of predators, claws, fangs, or thick skin. Yet what they lacked in physical strength, they made up for with ingenuity. They discovered that humans had an incredible ability to heal and recover. Even when faced with illness or injury, their bodies often bounced back. Their immune systems were capable of fighting off countless diseases, many of which would wipe out other species. What made this even more impressive was that humans didn't rely solely on natural abilities. They had learned to augment their biology with medicine, technology, and science. "There is no limit to their adaptability," Xanthi said, a hint of admiration in her voice. "Humans are outliers in the evolutionary chain. Most species grow stagnant, but they change constantly." As the days passed, the researchers began to realize the full scope of what they were dealing with. Humanity wasn't just another species to be observed. It was an enigma, an evolutionary outlier, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Xanthi stared out at Earth, her thoughts racing. "We were wrong," she whispered. "Humans are not just survivors. They are the future." The more they studied, the more Xanthi felt certain of one thing. Humanity's potential was limitless. They could either rise as the galaxy's greatest threat or become its most remarkable ally. And it was up to them to decide which path they would take. As the days passed, the alien team continued to watch humanity, growing more fascinated with each passing moment. The human ability to overcome obstacles, whether physical, social, or environmental, became more apparent than ever. Xanthi and the other researchers had expected to find a species weak in the face of adversity, but what they discovered was something far more surprising, an unstoppable force of persistence. One morning, as the team reviewed the latest data, Zorath stood up, his many eyes focused on the images being displayed on the central screen. He had been watching a human sports event, a marathon to be precise. From his seat, he had no clear understanding of why a species would willingly put themselves through such intense physical strain. Yet, as the race continued, the runners, Sweat dripping, muscles burning, pushed forward with a determination that seemed impossible. They were not the fastest, nor the strongest, yet they persevered. How can they keep going like this? Zoreth asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Xanthi watched in silence as the runners crossed the finish line, exhausted but triumphant. They do it because they can. Their bodies may be fragile, but their minds are incredibly strong. Humans don't give up, no matter how hard things get. Talek, who had seen many species give in to exhaustion or fear, couldn't help but wonder about the human spirit. It's more than just physical endurance, he said slowly. It's their will. They fight through pain, they fight through failure, and they keep pushing themselves forward. The researchers were beginning to understand that persistence was one of the core traits of humanity. Whether it was in the field of sports, science, or even personal life, humans found ways to overcome the odds. Later that day, the team's drones captured another extraordinary sight, a human rescue operation. A massive earthquake had struck a city, leaving thousands trapped under rubble. Emergency crews, including ordinary citizens, had rushed to the scene, working together to save lives. The scene on the drone feed was chaotic. There was no time to lose. The search and rescue teams worked tirelessly, using every tool at their disposal to clear the wreckage. The workers were covered in dust, their clothes torn and stained, but their faces showed no signs of hesitation. The human rescuers dug and pulled at the rubble with everything they had, their focus unshaken by the danger surrounding them. Xanthi observed with awe. They are willing to risk everything to save others. They fight against nature itself, and they do it with no hesitation. Talek's voice was filled with respect. I've never seen anything like it. These humans, they don't just survive. They make sure that others survive too. The more the team watched, the more they realized that humanity's persistence was not just about individuals. It was about their communities, their cultures, and their ability to unite in the face of disaster. When the humans faced challenges, they did not crumble. Instead, they worked together, sharing their resources, their strength, and their intelligence to find solutions. Zoreth couldn't help but compare this to his own people. His species was known for their military might, their ability to conquer, and their instinct for survival. But they did not have the same unity that humans displayed. While Zoreth's species might have been able to defeat a single enemy, they lacked the cooperative spirit that allowed humanity to overcome massive challenges. As the days turned into weeks, the team began to see patterns in the way humans responded to adversity. In moments of crisis, when most species would panic or give up, humans did something remarkable. They adapted. They found ways to not just survive, but to thrive in the most dangerous of circumstances. A piece of data caught Xanthi's attention. Footage of a human in the wilderness, alone and stranded after a shipwreck. With no supplies, no backup, the human had to rely on sheer will and resourcefulness to survive. Over the course of several weeks, the human built a shelter, hunted for food, and made tools from the wreckage. The human did not give up. They didn't allow fear to take over. They fought each day to stay alive, even when it seemed impossible. Xanthi was deeply moved by what she saw. They never stop. Even when they are at their lowest, they'd find a way to continue. Talek's voice broke the silence. Perhaps this is what makes them so dangerous. Not their strength, not their speed, but their willpower. Their refusal to give up is something we have never encountered before. The alien researchers began to see humanity in a new light. They were no longer simply a species to be observed or feared. They were a force of nature, a species that could endure the worst and still rise above it, a species that refused to be broken. And the more the team observed, the more they realized that humans did not only fight to survive, they fought to improve. They had a constant drive to make the world around them better, to find new solutions to old problems, and to grow in ways that no other species had ever done before. Do you think they even know how strong they are? Zoreth asked, his voice full of wonder. Xanthi shook her head. I don't think they do. But we see it. We see what they are capable of. And it's both humbling and terrifying. The team remained silent for a moment, reflecting on what they had seen. Humanity's persistence wasn't just a survival instinct. It was a defining trait, one that could either shape the future of the galaxy or threaten to destroy it. The more they learned, the more they understood. Humans were not just a species to be watched. They were a species to be reckoned with. The alien team spent another few weeks orbiting Earth, continuing to observe humanity. Each passing day brought new revelations, new surprises, and with each new discovery, the sense of awe among the researchers grew. But it wasn't just admiration that grew. There was also a growing sense of concern. Xanthi, always the most focused of the group, had spent countless hours analyzing the data. She had seen the most remarkable qualities of humanity: their persistence, their innovation, their unyielding determination to survive and to improve. But what troubled her was a deeper question. What would happen if humans turned their gaze beyond Earth? What if they decided to explore, to expand, beyond their own planet? Talek, who had once been skeptical of the humans, was beginning to see their potential more clearly. They are like a wildfire, he said one evening, his voice filled with wonder and unease. Once they start, there's no stopping them. Their drive is unstoppable. Zoreth, who had studied countless species, remained silent for a long time. He was deeply impressed by humans, but his years of experience had made him cautious. He could see that humanity's potential was both a gift and a threat. Their evolution is too rapid, he said, finally speaking up. They've already reached a point where they could become a force beyond anything we've ever seen. Their technology is advancing faster than any of us anticipated. Xanthi nodded, her thoughts racing. Their capacity for change is their greatest strength and their greatest danger. If they don't learn to control their impulses, if they don't learn restraint, they could become a threat to the entire galaxy. The researchers had always considered themselves the superior species. After all, they had seen civilizations rise and fall throughout the galaxy. But humanity was different. Their rapid advancement, their unpredictable nature, it made them impossible to predict. And that made them dangerous. The team had spent weeks quietly watching humanity's progress. But now, Xanthi felt it was time to confront the reality of the situation. We can't simply observe anymore, she said, her voice firm. We need to make a decision. If we don't act soon, humanity may become a force too great to control. We need to understand what they truly want. Zoreth's multiple eyes narrowed. And what do you suggest? Confronting them directly? No, Xanthi said quickly. But we can approach them. We can offer them knowledge, guide them, and help them understand their place in the galaxy. If we don't do this, we risk them making the first move, and we can't afford to let that happen. Talek listened intently. You're suggesting we make contact with them, teach them, maybe even form an alliance. Yes, Xanthi replied, but it's not just about guiding them. We need to understand how they think, how they make decisions. Humans are driven by emotion, by belief. They act on instinct as much as they do logic. If we can understand their psychology, we might be able to predict their next steps. The discussion grew more intense as the team debated their next move. Some researchers felt that humanity should be left alone, allowed to develop without interference. Others believed that humanity should be brought into the fold of galactic civilization, guided and mentored to prevent any chaos. It was a delicate balance between observation and action. Days passed, and the tension on the Sentinel grew. Each researcher had their own opinion, their own view on humanity. But one thing became clear to all of them. The decision to intervene could change everything. Then, one night, as the ship hovered above Earth, Xanthi received a transmission. It was a communication from a human scientist, an astronomer who had been studying the stars, attempting to detect signals from other civilizations. Somehow, the human had tapped into a faint signal, one that seemed to come from deep in space. It was not a signal from an advanced species, but a transmission nonetheless, a signal of intelligent life reaching out. The human had discovered them. Xanthi's heart skipped a beat. She shared the transmission with the rest of the team. The humans were no longer just observing the stars. They were reaching out, trying to make contact. The message was clear. Humanity was ready to take the next step. They were ready to find others, to discover what lay beyond their planet. "We can't wait any longer," Zorith said, his voice resolute. "They found us, and now they will come for us." Xanthi knew he was right. The humans had already reached the stars, and if they kept advancing at this rate, they would eventually be able to reach other civilizations. If they were not careful, humanity could easily become a threat to their own existence. "We need to make contact with them first," Xanthi said. "We need to guide them, help them understand the risks and responsibilities of exploring the galaxy. We can't let them rush into the unknown without understanding the consequences." The decision was made. The researchers would approach humanity, initiate contact, and offer them knowledge. They would help humanity understand the universe around them and prevent them from becoming a threat. But it was clear that their relationship with humanity would never be the same. As the Sentinel adjusted its course toward Earth, Xanthi couldn't help but feel a mixture of fear and hope. The next phase of humanity's evolution had begun, and now it was up to the aliens to decide whether they would be allies or adversaries. The Sentinel drifted closer to Earth, its powerful engines silent as it approached the planet's atmosphere. Xanthi and her team had made their decision. They would make contact with humanity, but they had no idea how the humans would react to such an unprecedented event. Would they welcome the aliens with open arms, or would they be frightened by the unknown? Xanthi sat in the command center, her fingers tapping on the console, as the rest of the team gathered around her. They had been preparing for this moment for weeks, reviewing every piece of information about humanity they could find. They knew the humans were capable of great intelligence and creativity, but they also knew that fear and mistrust ran deep within their hearts. "We need to make our presence known carefully," Xanthi said, her voice calm yet full of urgency. "We must show them that we come in peace and that we mean no harm." Zoreth, who had always been more skeptical of direct contact, was still unsure. "And what if they don't respond well? What if they see us as a threat?" Talek, who had grown to respect humanity's resilience, offered his thoughts. "We've watched them for so long, and their curiosity is unmatched. If we approach them as equals, they may surprise us. They might be frightened at first, but they have the capacity to understand." Xanthi nodded, her mind already calculating the risks. The humans were unpredictable, but they had shown time and again that their greatest strength was their ability to learn, to adapt, and to make the best out of difficult situations. Suddenly, a communication came through on their console. It was from Earth, a human government official, someone who had been studying the stars and the possibility of life beyond their planet. It seemed that the message the Sentinel had intercepted earlier had not been ignored. The human scientist had been working with others, and now they had finally decoded a pattern in the signal, one that indicated that the Earthlings had been aware of the Sentinel for some time. Xanthi quickly read through the message. The human had acknowledged the presence of the alien ship and expressed a willingness to make contact. They had sensed something unusual in the sky and had already made preparations for what they referred to as first contact. Xanthi smiled. "They're ready. The humans are more prepared than we thought." Talek was skeptical. "But are we ready? This is a huge risk. We are stepping into the unknown." Xanthi stood, looking out the viewing window. The planet below seemed so peaceful, but she knew that the moment they made contact, everything would change. Humanity's history had been filled with moments of great discovery, but also moments of fear and misunderstanding. She could only hope that this encounter would be different. "It's time," Xanthi said, her voice steady. "We need to make our presence known, but we must do it carefully. Our first impression will shape everything." The alien researchers sent a signal to the human communication station, confirming their intent to make peaceful contact. They decided to reveal only a small portion of their ship's presence at first, enough to be seen, but not enough to provoke panic. Their hope was to show humanity that they were not alone in the universe and that they were here to help. As the Sentinel hovered above Earth, the researchers waited, anxious yet excited. They had learned so much about humanity, but now they would see how they would respond to this momentous event. It was one thing to study a species from afar, but it was another thing entirely to face them. The human government quickly organized a global broadcast. The news stations, which had been covering the growing mystery of strange lights in the sky, now turned their attention to the signal. As the humans looked up, they saw the massive shape of the Sentinel descending slowly through the atmosphere. The ship was not built for subtlety. Its size and design were impossible to ignore. Millions of humans across the world watched in awe and fear. The world was on the edge of a new chapter in history, but Scifi knew that it wasn't just about how humanity would react. It was about whether the aliens could communicate their peaceful intentions and their willingness to offer guidance. The first words from the alien ship were broadcast to the world in a language that the humans could understand. "We are the ones who have been watching you. We come in peace, and we wish to share knowledge and understanding. You are not alone in the universe." As the message echoed through the airwaves, there was a moment of stunned silence. For a long time, the humans didn't know how to react. Some stood frozen in shock, while others tried to process the incredible news. The leaders of Earth's nations quickly gathered, consulting with experts in linguistics, science, and diplomacy. They had no idea how to handle the situation, but they knew one thing. They needed to respond carefully. Scifi watched from the Sentinel, waiting for Earth's leaders to make their decision. This was a pivotal moment in history, and the aliens were now waiting for humanity to choose how they would move forward. "I wonder," Zoreth said, his voice thoughtful. "Will they view us as a threat, or will they see us as something more?" Scifi didn't have an answer. She could only hope that the human spirit of curiosity and resilience would prevail. They had seen it time and time again, their endless drive to explore, to discover, to learn. "We will find out soon enough," Scifi said softly. "But no matter what, this is only the beginning." The world stood still. The message from the Sentinel had echoed across every corner of the planet, and for the first time in history, humanity knew that they were not alone. The realization struck hard, shaking the foundations of everything that was once certain. But amid the uncertainty, there was also a spark of hope, a glimmer of excitement for the future. Scifi, aboard the Sentinel, watched the global reactions unfold. It was a strange feeling. This was the moment she had spent so long preparing for, yet now that it had arrived, she wasn't sure what to expect. Would humanity embrace their visitors, or would fear drive them to respond with hostility? Hours passed as the news outlets and governments scrambled to make sense of the encounter. The United Nations, along with leaders from countries all over the world, came together for an emergency meeting. The human scientists who had first detected the alien presence were consulted. Conversations were fast, frantic, and full of uncertainty. But amid the confusion, one thing was clear. Humanity had to make a decision about how to approach this unprecedented situation. Meanwhile, on the Sentinel, Scifi's team observed every detail, analyzing the reactions, the conversations, and the broadcasts. They were being watched just as closely as they had been watching Earth for the past months. The humans were not just looking at the ship in the sky. They were looking at the future. "We should not be too quick to judge them," Talik said as he reviewed the human broadcasts. "The humans are a species of great adaptability. We've seen their resilience, their ingenuity. We cannot base our entire judgment on fear alone." Zoreth, as always, was more cautious. But what if their fear turns into aggression? What if they see us as invaders, despite our peaceful intentions? Scifi was deep in thought. She had been analyzing the signals sent by Earth's leaders. What she saw was both promising and troubling. On one hand, Humanity's curiosity was overwhelming. They wanted to know more, to learn about the alien visitors who had appeared in the sky. On the other hand, there were signs of fear, fear of the unknown, fear of the power the Sentinel represented. It was only natural. After all, humanity's history was marked by war, mistrust, and conflict. Hours later, the first official response came. The United Nations broadcasted a global message addressing the world's citizens. The message was clear and filled with hope. Humanity would extend a hand to the aliens, but only with caution. They would welcome the knowledge that the Sentinel offered, but they would also protect themselves. We have learned throughout our history that knowledge is both a gift and a responsibility, the UN representative stated. We will not act out of fear, but we will also not act without caution. We must understand these visitors, for they hold knowledge that could change our world forever. Xanthi's heart pounded as she watched the broadcast. This was the moment they had prepared for, but it wasn't going to be easy. The human response was a delicate balance of hope and skepticism. They were willing to accept the aliens, but they also needed time to understand the implications of this encounter. It seems they are willing to trust us, but only on their own terms, Xanthi said, her voice filled with a mixture of relief and concern. They are wise. They understand the importance of this meeting. Zorath looked at the screen, his many eyes focused on the human leaders. They are not like other species we've encountered. They are unpredictable. But they may also be more capable of understanding than we ever realized. Talek nodded. Their curiosity will drive them. They may fear us, but they also want to know us. That is their greatest strength. As the days passed, the Sentinel remained in orbit, waiting. Xanth and her team continued to monitor Earth's response. The humans had agreed to send representatives to meet with the aliens, though the exact details were still in the works. But it was clear that this was the beginning of a new chapter for both species. The atmosphere on the Sentinel shifted. The team had been observing, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves completely, to share their knowledge and their guidance with humanity. But now, with the humans showing a willingness to engage, they knew the time had come. Xanthi, standing at the observation window, looked out at Earth below. It was beautiful, fragile, and full of potential. The humans had so much to offer, and the aliens had so much to teach them. This meeting, this first contact, was only the beginning. It was a chance for both species to learn from each other, to explore the stars together. We are at the dawn of a new era, Xanthi said softly. This is not just about us. It's about them too. It's about what they can teach us as much as what we can teach them. Zorath stood beside her, his many eyes reflecting the lights of Earth below. The future is uncertain, but perhaps it is in that uncertainty that we will find the greatest opportunity. Talek, ever the optimist, smiled. Humanity's greatest strength is their ability to adapt, to overcome, to reach beyond the stars. They are ready. The Sentinel hovered silently in the dark expanse of space, the future of two species hanging in the balance. The world below was on the brink of something extraordinary. It was the beginning of an alliance that could change the course of history, and it all started with one simple truth. Humanity was not alone. And for the first time, the galaxy was watching with hope.